I had to cut that off. She had a fart can on there or whatever, you know, a big old fart can, and she's like, I like it. And I'm like, this thing's disgusting. I was like, this car needs to be quiet. Hey everybody! What is it, like Wednesday? Something? Look at this. The lab's got Mach-E's. Mustang Mach-E's. What's up with that? Anyways, not a bad day today. So, I don't know, it's 60s. Next week, it's supposed to get to basic, nice turn signal. It's supposed to get to like 90. And of course, you know, we had some nasty storms the other day, and yeah, so basically, just like Chicago, we get, you know, a week's worth or less of actual usable spring. What are you gonna do? So we're going from basically, what did my wife call it? Sprinter? Spring and winter? Sprinter? We go from sprinter to summer, just full blasting, you know, 90 degrees, 90% humidity, you know, all the fun stuff. So yeah, so we might be able to get some stuff done soon. I think next week, like I said, next week, 90s or almost 90s. All right, so what's going on? Still waiting for Doe Man Easy Rider to help me out and replace those seals in the motor. I got it cleaned. What else? So I put out that welding video. People seem to like that video. So what I did this time is I bought some, what are they? 18 gauge welding coupons or kits or whatever they call them. Basically, I call them coupons. Anyways, so there's ones that are like a hollow cube, and there's ones that is like a solid cube, more like a rectangle cube, you know what I mean? But I bought a bunch of sets of those, and I got some 16th inch welding rod, the pretty much standard welding rod, whatever, ER 750S or whatever the hell it is. And that was supposed to arrive today. I just ordered it off of Amazon. It was only like $30 for a 5-pound box of mild steel rods. And that's for TIG, right? So, and the wire I already got for the Flux MIG that's for mild steel too. Anyways, point being is that when I do the next video for welding, you know, we're gonna do part 2 with the PD Max. That's the Temu welder. When I do that one, you know, I'd like to go back and we'll experiment with the Burger welder and the MIG and the TIG. That way I got clean metal to work with. You know what's funny is I got a comment that's like, you know, put down that welder till you can learn to clean metal. Well, I hate to tell everybody, but you know, sometimes you don't always get clean metal. You know, you can do your damnedest, but you know. So, point being is that yeah, obviously ideal situation. You know, the better you can clean it. And somebody else left me a comment that was actually not too bad and was like, you know, oh, my semi-professional or semi-amateur advice is, you know, the cleaner you can get it, the cleaner it's going to weld. And it's like, yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, you know, it's not like I haven't welded before, but, you know, I am fully aware, you know, I used to work on a farm, and we just used them, what is it, 7013 or whatever, we call them farm rods, you know, stick welding. And it didn't really matter what it was. You just weld it. You know what I mean? You can spend all your time grinding on it, whatever. Is like, nah. When you're on the farm, you just get it done. You know? And if the weld breaks, weld it again. Just keep welding it till it don't break. You know, or breaks less frequently. So yes, I am fully aware. That's why I put noob on there. Most of my experiences with stick and oxyacetylene gas welding. I actually did that in college. So, but if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So, for me, it was like, yeah, I understand the basics, right? Out of my lane. So, but yeah, it's different when somebody's like, oh, here, do this. I borrowed a welder. It was 1 year when me and my wife were still dating, and she had an old Neon, and her exhaust was falling apart, and so I think she told me her dad put it together with tin cans and baling wire or something. That only gets you so far. I'm not opposed to that, but that's not a temporarily permanent solution. You know what I mean? So I was like, I asked my buddy, I was like, hey, you got a welder, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, let me borrow that thing, because this thing it had broken the mounts or whatever, to the rubber mounts. It had broke the pieces, and the thing was rattling and jangling, and I got under there and welded that thing. And I don't know, a couple months later, it was like our birthday or something, and I was like, hey, look what I got you. And it was a full, axle back, full axle back for a Dodge Neon. She's like, what's this? I'm like, oh, this is your new exhaust. She got it from some guy. Well, they got it from her dad went with her, and they got it from some auto sales place or something, Dewey, Cheatham and Howe auto sales. And the thing was owned by someone that really loved sound systems or whatever, but this thing was pretty rigged, if you know what I mean. So I had to cut that off. She had a fart can on there or whatever, a big old fart can, and she's like, I like it. And I'm like, this thing's disgusting. I was like, this car needs to be quiet. So that's why I bought her a muffler for her birthday. You're like, wow, what an asshole. No, I couldn't take it. I didn't even want to drive the thing. I'm like, we're gonna get pulled over in this thing. I'm like, this thing is too loud, So yeah, I did that, and then what else? That car had a lot of stories. When she first got it, there was wires in the trunk and all this, and you could just tell that there was weird things, you open the door and sometimes the door lights would come on and off, or even with the door closed, the interior lights would come on or off. And she's like, it's so weird. And I'm like, okay. I was like, you know what? I bought her a head unit back in the day. I don't know, this was 2008, 2009, something like that. And I bought the radio, and I'm pretty good at wiring harnesses and stuff, so I got the adapters and the radio harness, and I set up my kitchen table, and I assembled it just like I did with Trevor's Ranger here. We're still working on a video for that. I was gonna film, he kind of filmed, but then we didn't film because we needed to get it done. I put a lot of work into this truck. You'll see that video at some point. I'll have to add in some new footage or whatever. Anyways, so it's her birthday. I think I gave her that and the exhaust. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, here you go. I'm like, I got everything done. I'm like, it'll take me 20 minutes to install this radio. It's just plug and play, right? At this point. And she was like, okay. And I start digging in. Now, she came over on a Saturday or something, 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, it'll be easy. And I pull out the dash. You never seen so many wires that didn't belong there. There was one of those. I would best describe it as a multi-cigarette lighter adapter. So it was a wire that they spliced in somewhere to 3 sockets, and then everything they had they just plugged into the sockets and stuff. And then following the wires, and there's these wires going down to the driver's side fuse panel, down by your foot, right? That's where most cars nowadays it's left and right, driver and passenger side. Anyways, I go down there and I'm like, what is this wire? There was just a wire, stripped wire that was jammed underneath of a fuse. And so I don't know what it was, but there was a bunch of wires, bunch of stuff, and I'm like, what the hell? And then you know, I look in the trunk and there's like, what would you say, 8 gauge wires, 4 gauge wires or something. I'm like, oh, there was a sub back here. And the wire was like underneath the jute carpeting, you know, your carpet in the back there. And hang on a second. And I pull back the carpeting, and you could see where the positive had been arcing on the frame of the car, and there was burn holes in the jute, and this thing was 10 seconds away from being an absolute dumpster fire, you know. I remember I pulled all that wire out. I pulled out a ton of wire from behind the you've never seen anything like this. Yank all the wires out from the fuse panel where they had just kind of jammed them in, and it was an absolute nightmare. And I remember coming out, like she came out and she's like, how's it going? And she looked in the yard, and there had to be 10 pounds of wire, you know. She looks over and she's like, oh my God, where did that come from? I'm like, that was inside your car. She's like, no. I'm like, yeah, that was all in there. And so it turned out, you know, somebody hacked this thing up, did a horrible job. You know, this car was ready to burn down. And she even said a couple of times she thought she smelled like electrical burning. And I was like, oh, really? So anyways, after that, then the lights all started working. She's like, oh my God, it all works again. And I'm like, yeah, basically, you know, a bunch of circuits weren't making a connection because they just shoved a wire in. I mean, you know, no add a fuse, no nothing, not even splices. They just jammed it underneath the fuse. So, but yeah, that car was a lot of that car was a lot of fun. I've done that a lot. There's been a lot of cars that I found. That was probably the worst one I've ever come across in terms of wiring and just hack jobs. And anyways, there's a nice long story for you guys. I haven't thought about that in, let's see, 2008 to, and if it was 28, that'd be 20 years. So yeah, that was quite a while ago, because that's like right when I first met her. We were only been dating for like a year or so at that point, maybe, you know, something like that. Pretty crazy. Anyways, and she had no idea. And of course, her dad went with her to, you know, he's like, this is the car we're getting. And, you know, I like her dad, but he's not a very, like, automotive type person. So, you know, he didn't know what he was looking for or whatever. And, I mean, if he would have just opened all the doors, you know, looked in the trunk, you know, kind of, I do that. I'll look under the cars, I look inside, you know, it's like, see what I'm getting myself into. Before I bought this Ranger that I've got, there was another Ranger at Batavia Auto Mart, run by a guy named Lloyd Jones, I think. This guy, he's a real special guy. Anyways, you know, where I bought my car from, oops, yeah, we're in the right place. Where I bought my car from, they're owned, this car dealership's owned by a place called The Crusher. It's a junkyard. So they take the cars that people take to the junkyard and they fix them up a little bit, and then they were selling them, you know. I mean, I still got my truck for a pretty good deal. Like, mine was a cream puff, but they had one before where he's like, oh yeah, and they wanted like $2,500 for this thing, but like, you open up the hood and the whole, like, you could tell that somebody just screwed with all the wiring. The air conditioning bracket was so many things. I looked at it, I go, if somebody touched it electrical, I am not buying it. And I didn't. I waited for this one. Anyways, yeah, a couple of good stories. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll have to try and remember some more stories, because, you know, these are all like personal stories, you know, that I probably haven't thought about in 15 years. So find my kickstand. There we go. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. All right, easy.